Hey everyone. So I'm going to be speaking this week at a safety conference up in Appleton on a topic that I covered actually at a similar event down in Lake Geneva in January. And the topic is psychological safety, and I added on the creative engagement strategies. I don't pretend to be an expert in this area, but in its gained popularity as of recent, I looked into it and found many of the main principles to be similar to what I teach. So I decided to kind of combine the two. People are interested, and I can share some of my own background. So that's what I'll be doing. So let's get into it. And I think this is sort of a change in the what I had originally proposed for this course. And I don't know, maybe this will be the new thing I focus on, is to have a sort of a broader or more popular topic to discuss on a weekly basis, and then have a component of problem solving or analysis and design, and then finally have the component of personal professional development. So I'm going to give you this abbreviated view. I don't know if you can hear it. I'm still recovering from a head and chest cold. Apologize for that. Probably doesn't sound real good, but here we go. So you all know who I am, but the group that I'm speaking to may not. It just kind of gives my background. I did focus quite a bit of my studies in graduate school in sociology and psychology. I wanted to understand the human component to work design and work management and organization design and management. And I'm going to share some of that stuff. Probably most interesting, you may not know, is that I did supervise a full safety crew for a filming of the TV show Extreme Makeover Home Edition. I was contacted on a Friday. They were going to do the announcement on Monday. So I did the walkthrough on, I believe, on Monday, and then found a crew of safety professionals to work 24 hours a day for 7 days, and I was there when I could. Very interesting experience. Nobody got hurt. I think there was one cut, very minor cut, no hospital visits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a 10,000 foot view. I'm going to share some of the findings from a person who is kind of recognized as the expert in this area, and show you where you can get more information. I'm going to cite some of the research that I reviewed when I was in my graduate studies and what I tend to use today, leading up to some of the things I've been doing in my consulting business to improve safety through engagement. So here is someone who's been given a lot of credit for this concept of psychological safety, Amy Edmondson. And when I was searching for a reading for my students, I found some of her work, but it was very sophisticated stuff. And this is an undergraduate class, and so I wasn't going to burden you with that type of work. And so for my students, what I want you to do is just take really detailed notes of the things that are kind of covered here, sort of the main lessons learned, and then afterward reflect on some of that stuff and how you could use that either in your current position or your internship or capstone internship that should be coming up very soon. So please do that. So now Dr. Amundsen, had focused more on work teams, and that if you have a team that's dysfunctional, obviously the results and the reliance on that team to get projects done effectively decreases. And what she found is that one of the barriers or the inhibiting factors to an effective team is their concern that their ideas or concerns or opinions would not only be rejected but cause them like harm, quote unquote harm, in the standing of the team itself and their ability to contribute to it. And psychological safety, and you've already read what it means, is that all team members feel comfortable with voicing concerns, asking questions, bringing up ideas without the threat of being harmed, demoted, recused, from team projects and things like that. And that takes a special effort of a team leader and actually the management of the team in order to accomplish that. It's not natural for us to give everybody a fair shot. There tends to be usually a dominant personality or two that you see in teams, no matter how they're formed. So there are 5 benefits to psychological safety. So of course, it fosters better communication and the sharing, open, performance, positive. That's the thing too, is that it should foster better, more positive attitudes. And in doing so, allow for there to be trust and caring, which people really want. They need, to feel comfortable that they can, risk a dissenting idea or opinion because, and that the leader in the group itself will consider it. It's not like you're going to buy it right away or buy into it, but rather you at least consider it. I consistently seek out opposing views just so I can understand where that came from and see if the scaffolding of that view versus my view is different, and maybe we can coalesce the two. Yeah. So, basic idea. Another thing I'd found, and we'll use it from a perspective, and this is where I'm going to start, in many ways, bridging some of my experiences and my teachings to Dr. Amundsen, is the 4 stages of psychological safety. Obviously, the top is the best, right? System inquiry, continuous improvement, you're up there, high performing, very resilient, tough to get there because for the most part, again, if you naturally basically put teams together, you're going to have a dominant personality. You're going to have people who aren't contributing. Either they're afraid or they just don't care. And it's going to only function, based on those who get things done. And it may not be the right thing because they have their own attitudes. It hasn't been checked. But there is a middle level contributor. There's commitment and recognition of that commitment. You feel valued. Next level down is learning, support, trust. And when I presented this at a previous event, like I had just said a few moments ago, I feel that for the people in this room, if you've never been involved in an effective team or it's something you want to pursue within your work environment, that maybe put learning, support, and trust as your initial goal. Once you get there, as you evolve and move into new projects, you could probably try to bring it up to the contributor challenger level. But learner, I think, is a really great, I think you can get a lot done. And you're also building that basic idea of support and trust. And I think that if you've got a workforce that is not only willing, but desires to be a learner and for others to learn, that I think you can get a lot accomplished, especially from a safety perspective. And then the bottom, the very basic, is engagement. Assessment and engagement, which is inclusion, feeling like you belong or accepted or respected by the team. That's the basis. And so that's actually what we can start doing. And in doing so, in involving others, maybe we can get up to the support, trust, and learning level. So how do you practice it? So in a group, this is when I open it up to the group. And so for my students, I want you to be thinking about, based on your experiences, either now or previously, how you may have seen portions of these concepts, in your experience. Maybe you guys did actually practice PS in your work environment. Maybe it was just discussed. But so some things, some items that you may want to think about, do you promote self-awareness? Demonstrate concern for team members, as people, actively solicit questions. I think actively listening and then actively soliciting questions. Provide multiple ways for employees to share their thoughts. So some people are extrovert or introvert. Extroverts are going to talk. They gain energy from interacting and speaking their mind. Introverts, on the other hand, want to share, but they're very measured. They're very cautious in how they do it. And so giving them time to, they like to think things through, and then they may not want to say it out loud. Maybe there's a secondary way. Show value and appreciation for ideas. Definitely you should. Even if it's just way out there, still, where did that come from that person? What process did they go through to come up to it? Promote positive dialogue. Yes, definitely. Be precise with information, expectations, and commitments. Explain reasons for change. Own to mistakes. Other things, give up and receive feedback. Raise issues and concerns without being worried. You should be able to disagree. Ask for clarification. Ask difficult questions. Ask for help. All these things are difficult to do because sometimes they're viewed as being dominant or uninclusive. But if done properly, then these things should happen. And these things are beneficial to improvement, to reaching some sort of successful point. So let's take it to my experience, my teachings now. So the number one issue, my first issue, not number one, my first issue I want to speak to is that I practice safety as an attribute of work. And some may think, oh, he's a hypocrite because he studied industrial engineering. So of course he would put it within that context. Possibly, but that's actually, it was my experience as a compliance officer with OSHA that led me to view or consider safety as an attribute of something else versus being the sole focus, because it doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's part of something else. And so when I teach it, that's where I teach it from. That it's the I don't like the old definition for safety, sending people home in the same condition they came in. I don't like that. Person can show up to work, act a fool, not get hurt, go home the same way they did. What did we do? I believe we need to, understand what it takes to have, get everyone to complete their job effectively in as safe as manner as possible and hopefully elicit satisfaction from what they do. That's how I define safety. And sure, it probably needs a little work to really be something that catches on, but that's how I practice. I try to understand how people do things from their perspective, try to understand how safety, how it basically intersects or interacts, connects with that, and then how what they do gives them pride. And So, next. My second issue is that, and this really threw me when I read the paper by Denise Rosso. It was published a long time ago, but when it came into my hands, it really kind of threw some of the things I had read previously, and that is that when you have an organization, especially one that is got got a hierarchy and departments and levels and different sites and things like that, is communication is affected by that. And even though we're very used to using electronic mail, email to the layperson, I don't know why I said that, texting, things like that, we don't do phone calls as much. And meetings tend to see, I don't want to say this in a pejorative way, but sometimes meetings, it's like, what are we doing? We're getting around, we're talking about ideas, we're basically talking about problems and not so much about solutions. So, the example I want to give, and I think this is the best way to explain Dr. Rosso's work, is that have you ever seen a group of kids in a circle and one tells a secret to their right and then it goes all the way around the circle and it comes back and the message is different? The reason it's different is it's going through individual interpretations, or it's viewed through individual lenses until it gets to a certain point. Let's now put this in the perspective of an organization. Management says they want this, and it gets communicated down, it gets interpreted, it gets viewed for different lenses, and then it gets down to the work floor. So a strategic policy plan goal is now somehow manipulated to a tactical or practical application, and it's misunderstood. And then when it goes wrong, management will blame those that allowed it to go wrong, not realizing that the message wasn't put in the right, I hate to keep referring to the word like context. It wasn't put in the same language as those that need it to do it. Yeah, I think that's the way to put it. And so in large part, I call this organizations are as complex as individuals. Anybody have teenagers? Okay, enough said, right? Or a marriage even. It's not that simple. And You got to figure it out. There are a lot of other conflicting variables that contribute to getting things done. It's never A causes B. Further research is out there. I'm sure you're getting a good laugh. As far as my third issue, workers do not get hurt on purpose. Sometimes I think we forget this because we all are susceptible to attribution error, in which we observe or hear about an incident, and it's easiest to blame the worker. That we psychologically put ourselves into that position, and it's like, oh, if I was in that position, I would have done this differently, and then I would have avoided injury. So therefore, they did it on purpose. It's their fault. They contributed. We need to, as safety professionals, withhold that natural urge and try to understand it from not only the, dare I say, the victim's perspective, but how things external to them contributed to it. And that's taking more of a systems approach to things. And so, you've already read the things here, and you've read the stuff here, that human error, I think, more frequently, or a majority of the time, fails safe. We get lucky. But then when it fails unsafe and an incident occurs, now we all of a sudden respond that, oh, it must be the person's fault. I think that there are contributions, sure, but those contributions have been either directly or indirectly influenced by things in their environment or previous experiences or situational factors, non-persistent, temporal issues. All these things contribute, and if we ignore those, what we're doing is we're limiting our ability to see, or no, not see, we're limiting our ability to seek to understand what could contribute. And sometimes these weird things are the major contributor and are somewhat easy to correct. A perception. I've done research that shows that correcting certain perceptions that weren't intended were the primary cause. But okay, not going to get too far into that. So my fourth thing, workers want to be treated fairly. Everybody wants to be treated fairly. And when we don't, when we feel we've been treated unjustly, unequitably, we tend to seek or alter our approach to things, our view of things, in order to compensate for that perception of injustice or inequity. And that's based primarily on Adams' equity theory. And then the citation on the bottom, Dr. Greenberg expanded it to a term called organizational justice, which still had the fair days pay for fair fair days work, which is Adams' equity theory, compensation. But then, which is, I guess you call it the distributive justice under Greenberg. Then there's procedural, interpersonal, informational. That if we perceive that the rules are against us, or that a person is showing favoritism or bias towards us, or that we're not receiving a fair amount or a chance to get things done because we're not receiving what we need to get things done. So when it says information, I would also include resource. When we don't have those things, then it's not our fault. That we're being, our ability to complete things effectively or compete even is off. And this, therefore, we will seek justification. So how do workers seek equity and justification? Not caring about the work, quiet quitting, absenteeism, stealing, sabotaging, quitting, like leaving. These are all things that people do in response. I've read all kinds of memes on Facebook and LinkedIn. Workers don't quit jobs, they quit managers. And that's really, the manager is really the fulcrum which sets up the justice at work. So many of you have probably heard of human organizational performance, or HOP. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in this area either. If you want to learn more about it and its practices, I've got the two primary experts on the page here, Sidney Dekker and Todd Conklin. Sidney Dekker is over in Australia. Todd Conklin works for, I should have known this, it's a national laboratory, and I don't want to mess it up. He has the Pre-Accident Investigation podcast, which is wildly popular. Dekker has Safety Differently. It's all great stuff. So what are some of the main tenets? People make mistakes. Blame fixes nothing. Context drives behavior. Learning is vital. Response matters. I believe in all of those. Those basic themes have been intertwined into both my practice and my teaching without actually using any literature from either of these two authors. So I've found my way to these basic tenets without, and and so I full-heartedly, support this reorganization of these concepts. And so perceived safety, I've just got this little diagram down here: comfort, predictability, sense of control, trust, experience. All these things I believe are intertwined into these 5 tenets. And then there was some research done at the University of Michigan that found that positivity is directly correlated with success. And that in a work environment, more exactly, a positive-negative ratio of 3-to-1 is the threshold at which the benefits of positivity begin to materialize. Interesting, right? I'm not going to make you read all that. There's going to be no quiz at the end. But I just want to get you an indication that there's a growing body of evidence that doing these things does contribute positively, not only to safety, but to the work environment. And that's what I had talked about: getting the work done effectively, as safely as possible, elicit satisfaction. And I do think that feeling pride in the work you do is an essential part of all this. Another thing, and I think this goes along with everything, is that for years I've had this I don't like the term safety culture. It just didn't sit well with me. Yeah, I mean, the definition sounded right, but in looking into it, safety culture was a concept that was actually born out of the accident report of the Chernobyl disaster. So I think that happened in 87. The report came out in 92. It's all available online. And I feel like our profession has been chasing this phantom term for a long time. And we attach some very realistic goals and conditions to it. But still, it seems like it's aloof. I liken it to the term, love. We want a safety culture. We want love. Well, define love. Define safety culture. You can give when it's good, but how do I get there from here? It's just something you feel when you get there, kind of. There's things you do and things you experience, but it also requires regular maintenance. You can't just get it. You don't just get it and you got it, right? So 4 components to call. So I like to use the term learning culture because I believe safety culture now assumes certain, almost what could be perceived as negative connotations. Assume safety is the focus. Is it though? What is safety? I believe getting the work done effectively, as safe as possible, this is satisfaction. When you bypass or ignore safety's competition or its attribution to within work, you're not looking at it correctly. You're making it important, and it is important, but it's important within work. So therefore, I think this is the wrong way to look at it. I like the term learning culture. And I mean, the words are right here too. But, and again, he's a hypocrite. He's a instructor, so therefore learning is important to him. Yeah, but in a work environment, if people are curious and they don't out and out say, oh, this went wrong, so now we got to say, okay, you're wrong, but rather focus on, well, how did it happen? Why did it happen? What can we do from preventing the bad things from happening? But maybe even importantly, what can we do to ensure the good things happen more frequently? And I've experienced that in the last year at this company I've been working with. And it's been an interesting experience, journey, seeing the engineers at all levels, from the higher level to the process engineers, really look at things differently. Looking at it from, someone's getting hurt because they're bypassing this. Well, why are they bypassing it? Because it's failing too much. Why is it failing too much? Oh, well, we didn't realize that there's certain conditions that cause it to fail. Okay, so let's control those. Now, why would a worker go around something? Because there are production demands that we didn't realize were the motivating factors, the perception. So we're taking more of a holistic approach to safety because we're all attempting to learn. I love that. I absolutely love that. But it doesn't just happen. It doesn't spin on it. It doesn't turn on a dime, or light a. It takes time for people to learn. It does. Fortunately, there is some trial and error. I was looking up some. I'm going to bring up something that. So whenever somebody talks about psychological safety or human organizational performance or even learning cultures, there's the traditionalists out there who criticize it. And so I've got one article here published in 2007 about showing how organizational learning culture is really important for not only organizational performance, but changing processes. And then there's a more recent publication comparing safety culture and learning culture, and there's some very positive things there. But more recently, this is a 2023 paper, The Unintended Consequences of No Blame Ideology for Incident Investigation in U.S. Construction Industry. So, there is no silver bullet. There is no magic cure. There's value in fostering people wanting to learn. There's value in withholding attribution for incidents and seeing what external to individuals could be contributing and trying to fix things more holistically. But I also found that there's a point in which the worker's contribution, their decision must be confined to this, and it can't go beyond that. And when it goes beyond that, they need to be reminded that that was not an option. And so that has to be put in place too. Not only as a motivating factor, an antecedent, but also a confirmatory commitment to those that would not deviate from those original choices. And that's what this research is about. That if it's no blame, then people will be maybe a little bit sloppier in certain cases. And then there's workers who will not do that. They're very disciplined and they're upset to see that others get away with that stuff. That's what the research says, in essence. I'm trying to boil it down. So in the past year, I basically, coming out of our pandemic slumber, coma, if you will, I started getting back into the speaking, and I spoke on a couple podcasts, and so I'm getting more into it. So what I'm doing now, same thing. So I talked a lot about positivity, collaboration, and changing your view, how you measure safety, how you view it, and then also how to handle difficult situations for people who are confrontational. And there's other things I've also contributed to. Interestingly enough, at the end of last week, a mentor of mine, she posted some of the work she's doing, and she's presenting at a national learning event. I've never been able to commit myself to that level, and I have all the respect for some of the professionals that do that on a consistent basis. And you guys can find this on LinkedIn if you want. I'm not going to try to hide it. But this one individual who has an esteemed title came on and just spouted off this paragraph or two of like this apropos to nothing about system safety, and you should take a systems approach, and just thinking about training is worthless or something like. I'm putting words in the person's mouth, but if you read it, you'd be like, man, is he being critical on purpose? Is he being pretentious? Is he being misogynistic? And so I came back and said, I'm going to paraphrase. What are you talking about? This is about finding inventive and fun ways to engage workers in training so they remember things. That system engineering definitely has a contributing factor to safety, but this is about training. He came back at me. He said, "Excuse me, sir." And he went off on another couple paragraphs, and I said, "Okay, I understand what you're talking about, but it is irrelevant to the original post. And if you want to speak more about this, contact me on the outside. We'll get together." He went off on 2 more posts, so I'm going to reach out to him personally and let him know. And I'm going to do this actually. I'm going to say that I'm reaching out to you because I don't know if you realize, but the way in which you presented this and how you presented this on an open social media forum was condescending to the author of the original post. It makes you look pretentious and in some ways either bigoted or misogynistic. And that someone who has served, the safety profession throughout his career and has earned such high accolades really should be careful on how he presents and tries to share his knowledge and work. And I'm just doing it as a professional courtesy. And I don't know how he's going to take it. But, no, I already said it's a he. Okay, fine, whatever. But have you guys ever seen that? Where people speak above you, demean you in a way? How do you react? How do you feel about it? So anyway, it just goes along. It matches up with what we've been talking about. I'll see what I can do to hopefully help out this individual. If they don't want my help, God bless. Be you. So this is interesting, and I found this too. I didn't want to bring it up too early, but employee engagement is very important to me. And as I've been on this journey over the last year at this company, employee engagement was my primary objective when I came in. I wanted to get as much input from the workers, get to know them, and acknowledge their inputs. And that's in addition to supervisors and everybody else, but I really made a conscious effort to talk to the workers. And you see from this, everybody, you guys are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy, right? Well, this one sort of overlays this idea of employee engagement. And so what I was really trying to get is proud to work here. Know I'm part of something bigger. Up to, I'm a vital part of the business. I feel important to work here. I'm an achiever. I'm really busy. Oh, really stressed. I don't want that. But they feel they belong. They feel they're important. And so I was trying to hit that. I did do a perception survey. The results were fascinating. They were positive on certain aspects. Other aspects we knew we had to work on. It was a surprise to nobody what people were saying, but it was acknowledged. And what can we do to move forward? There are a few individuals who are highly engaged, and I did celebrate them and acknowledge it. So wherever you go work, it would be good to get out, start talking to people, and try to ask questions that gives you an indication of where they would be on this pseudo hierarchy scale. But the question I'm asking to you and want you to think about is, what's more effective, engaging people at all levels and understanding their views on safety, or is it conducting audits and safety training sessions detailing what you want? Obviously, it's a loaded question, and I hope you know which one I favor, but I want you to think about that, because what do we do? What are we spending so much of our time on? And is it the right thing? So, some of the things that have worked for me, and I know we're over a half hour now, and I'll be wrapping this up very soon, so thank you for staying with me. So, it's supposed to be listen. I listen and observe before I speak. I'll change that as soon as we turn this off. Listen and observe before you speak. Try not to start every conversation about safety. So I just go up and talk to people about whatever. How are you feeling? Whatever. I thank people for reporting concerns and incidents. I apologize and show empathy to those who incur harm. That's one of the easiest things you can do, especially in a work environment where people perceive that they're being blamed or receive discipline for reporting things. Show empathy. That's really important. Should be basically square one for this profession. In confrontation or disagreement, you remain positive and supportive, but know when to walk away. And to walk away is when someone is either, what's the proper term? They're experiencing such high emotion that they are unable to really listen to someone or consider someone else's perspective. In that case, what you want to do, give them time to cool off or whatever it might be, and then come back and speak with them. Because people say things and do things when they're in a heightened emotional state that they don't really mean. They're reacting to their emotion state and not to others. And so we have to know when to walk away and not to, come back and, throw their face in it afterwards, but rather, okay, you're feeling better now. And I've learned that works too. I've got some people who are notorious for losing their temper on little things, and I know who they are, and I've learned to, when to basically walk away, but then come back to them, and they're a completely different person. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, you know what I mean. I'm Professor Moriarty. Don't order people around. Approach safety topics as improvement to the job as an attribute of work. Don't order people around. State the basic idea and objectives and ask for their input. Not only is that getting collaboration, but also maybe a very creative approach. Solutions should be a range of options, and some may actually need to be temporary because at this point in time we aren't able to pursue more permanent solutions. That is one that it took me some time to learn because I feel like there should be, this is what you do, but you got to realize that no, it's part of the business. And if it's going to affect other aspects of the business, those other key factors need to be brought into perspective so that you're not negatively affecting them. Keep detailed notes and records and document your work. That is the biggest thing you can do. That was a training point when I was an engineer. It should be a key aspect as a safety professional. I've got a detailed journal from day one consulting at this company, and I look back at my notes, I review my thoughts, I come up with longer reflections, summary of concepts. That has been driving personal improvement for me, which is why for the students, that's what I've been having you guys do too. It really drives improvement. And you can look back and see, document, track, demonstrate. There you go, demonstrate actual improvement. Finally, use data analytics and testimony to demonstrate your value. That's in your proposal to management to get things. My students have seen this before, so this is an example of my updated KPIs for the company. So I've got my leading and my lagging. My goal each year is to improve my leading indicators by 20% year over year, reduce the lagging by 20% year over year. I went through and calculated and mined out the year before I came in. Here's the year I completed. Here's the year we're in. And it's prior month, current month. So on a monthly basis, I present out quarterly. It's more of a broader thing along with goals. And as you can see, I've actually improved the targets for 2024 to represent my new priorities. So my priority for 2023 was increasing observations and concerns, and then I built it into my lagging. That I believe that the more observations I do, the less cases I should have, or the DART cases, days away cases. And my original goal, I think, was 30-1. I was able to achieve 100-1 last year. They were 16-1 the year before. I said at 30. First month, I was already at 33-1. One thing that was lacking last year was that I was finding more things than I was fixing, or I wasn't doing a good job of reviewing in prioritizing, redefining, combining. So I had doubles in there. But I ended the year with 121 open. We started the year with 37. And so in January, that was my new focus. I was able to lower it a little bit. But by the end of 2024, I hope to get it below 30. And even lower than that. I probably should have put lower than that. I didn't want to go too crazy because SMART goals, make them attainable. And so these are my goals for the everyday thing. More observations and concerns reported by workers, more safety items resolved by me, and lowering the backlog. Safety training took a bit of a back seat for me because I wasn't on site that much, and I couldn't really pull people off the line when they were being forced to work overtime every other week. And so I held off. An hour off the line twice a month would be an extra day of work, and they were already a bit tired, and so I heard that, and then the JHAs and safety audits, I just wasn't on site enough. I didn't have the time focus on these other things, and I did drop everything when somebody came and told me something. I resolved it immediately, or as immediate as I could, and that gained respect, trust. As far as laggings, we went from total number of recordables from 15 to 8. This year I wanted to be below 10. We already got 1. I don't want to talk about it. As far as restricted transfer days away cases, we had 10 in 2022. I got it down to 4. We already have 1. I don't want to talk about it. The ratio of safety observations to DART, it was 16 to 1 in 2022, 100 to 1 in 2023. We're already at 21 to 1, so we have some work to do. No, prior month is 21 to 1. We were 31 to 1 in January. We got some work to do. For the ratio of first aid near miss report onlys to record, no, that's a new term. It's the observations that drive those last year. So now I'm just measuring these. I want I want my goal to be 15 to 1 on that. We're at 16 to 1 in January. We were only 6 to 1 the month prior. We were at 13 to 1 last year and only 6 to 1. So the more people who report, I observed something that was close, or I got a nick and I fixed it. I want more of that. More reports, more sharing, which in many ways is psychological safety, right? That's why I'm kind of ending it here. And then, of course, we've got the incidence rates. I did some pretty good stuff. Again, bold goals. We'll see how we do. Here's my trend analysis for the observations, corrections, and then the backlog. I want the backlog to get down to here. A lot's going to get done if we can reach that. A lot. So again, the focus is resolving more issues than are reported, whereas last year was just really focusing on getting people to report things. That's all I got. I hope this was insightful for the class. I feel like I'm speaking to two different groups here. But again, I'm trying to give you some additional insights based on what's popular right now out in writing and presentations and conferences. I've got a little bit of background in there, and I've got actual experience in how I was using it. So summarize what you learned here and kind of reflect on how you could use these types of approaches, because you can actually use them in real life right now. But I was using it at a workplace and I learned a lot from it. So, all right, see you in the next video.